Hello, Camp Pros, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. My name is Travis Allison. I run a blog about running a great summer camp at camphacker.tv.
Hi, my name is Dan Weir. I'm the Director of Camping Services at Frost Valley YMCA. Frost Valley is a year-round camp conference education facility located in the Catskill Mountains, and I just celebrated my 17th summer working at summer camp.
And my name's Gabrielle Rail, and I'm one of the camp directors at Camp Waro. Camp Waro is an all-girls camp with a bilingual program situated in the Laurentian Mountains in Quebec, Canada.
Hello, my name is Megan Slalis, and I'm the director of the Pepperdine Family Camp, which is a new program that Pepperdine University launched on their Malibu campus this past summer.
And I am Tom Horner, the owner-director of Catalina Island Camps, located on Catalina Island, 25 miles off the coast of Southern California. We are a summer camp and outdoor education program, and we also host the Jean-Michel Cousteau Family Camp in August each year.
And Megan and Tom, it's awesome to have you both join us this week. We're excited to be talking about family camp. And I'm going to come back around and ask Tom some questions about Catalina Island and his camp career. But before I do, I just want to let you know, as people that are watching this program on YouTube or listening to it while you jog or drive your car, that we do really appreciate people leaving us reviews on iTunes. If you go to camphacker.tv/iTunes, it'll take you directly to the spot where you can connect with us, leave a rating, a star rating, or a review. And it's incredibly helpful for us. We, for technical reasons that we've talked about on the show before, lost all the reviews that we had before. And so we're slowly building that up this year and would appreciate any help you can give us. That again is at camphacker.tv/iTunes. And Joe Richards isn't able to join us today, but he was kind enough to remind me to start promoting the Think Camp program. Think Camp is a small unconference that runs at Joe's camp at Pierce Williams in Ontario, Canada. And it is only open to 50 people. And I'm telling you right now, it is going to fill. So if you're at all interested and can make it to Pierce Williams on November 11 to 13, please join us. It's a very participatory conference. It's sort of the best of what happens at a big camp conference. It's all of the hallway conversations, but with a little bit, all those conversations are wrapped into the real program of the show. So I encourage you to check out thinkcamp.ca, and registration for that will start on April 1st, 2014. So, Tom, I'm so glad that you're able to join us. You and I have talked about your family camp program before, but it's great that you're willing to sit down and share with the greater camp community what goes on at Catalina Island. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Travis. You just want to know a little bit about kind of how I got to where I am then?
Yeah, I want to start with, I want to talk about Catalina specifically, but I do want to know how you yourself got involved in summer camp.
Well, when my family moved to Southern California in 1967, my parents knew one family, and they said, send your kids to Tom Sawyer Camps, which was a day camp. 9 years later, through a whole lot of circumstances that would take too long to explain, my dad purchased the camp. The next summer, my mom was secretary because we were all at camp, and then she, at the end of the summer, said, I'm going to be executive director. She took over, and then I started working at camp as I graduated from high school, all through college, started full-time in the early 80s when I finished college. And then in the 90s, through all of our associations with ACA, we met the owner of Catalina Island Camps. We got involved there and ended up buying Catalina Island Camps in 1994. I married my wife, Maria, who was director at Camp Joe Sherman, a Girl Scout camp in Orange County. Yep. And the two of us we went to Catalina. This will be our 21st summer on Catalina Island this year.
It's awesome.
So it's all I've ever done. I don't know what a summer vacation is.
Yes. And oddly enough, you're smart enough to marry a camp director who could actually spend the summers with you, unlike so many camp directors I know who are married to teachers and whose vacations never cross.
It's funny.
But that's the joke. We'll be together forever because we'll never see each other.
Dan and Gab both.
It's funny that my wife likes to joke that I was sent out on a reconnaissance mission to find a resident camp director to marry because we were all day camp people.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, it's good she could round out the Horner picture. when it comes to res camp directing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right on. Well, I'm so glad to have you here. And Megan, it's great to have you back too. We're grateful. This topic actually came about because Megan wrote in and suggested it to me, and I recruited her to be on this show and the one that we did previously on Family Camp. So if you have ideas that you want us to talk about, here's the evidence that it works. If you let us know, we'll talk about it, and we'll try to get you involved as well. Previously, I encourage you to go to camphacker.tv/podcast and find our previous family camp episode. We talked about why a camp would want to offer a traditional residence camp would want to offer a family camp and what the benefits for that would be. And so I encourage you to check that out. But pardon me, what we wanted to focus on today were two things. One was the programming, and two was the publicity for your family camp. Neither of those I felt like we covered well enough in our previous show. So what I want to know is, in terms of family camp programming, first of all, how is family camp? I know, Megan, that your whole business is family camp, and but I understand that you have a feeling for what residence camp for kids is like. And I just wonder for you, when you were creating this program at Pepperdine, what you wanted to do to make it stand out, different, exceptional, etc.
Yeah, so the way I think about family camp programming, I think of it in three different genres. So you have the adult programming, the kids programming, and the family programming. I really specialize in the family programming and the adult programming. I typically hire someone to take care of the kids programming, just because I think that the adult programming and the family programming are really what highlight the experience for the families. So when I started to think about how can I make this uniquely Pepperdine, I thought of ways to get the faculty involved in some of our activities. Maybe they guided a hike, they did a faculty lecture. I made use of our location. So we're in Malibu. So the beach, that was a big thing. Surf lessons, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding. I really just made a use of where we're at, the location, and what my resources are. And then talked with the campus and made sure that our families had access to different parts of campus, had exclusive access to certain things that they wouldn't have access to typically. So I just tried to make it as unique as possible to our location and to our university.
That sounds awesome. What sort of stuff do you do for exclusive access for those families when they're there?
Well, if you're just a visitor on campus, you don't get access to our gym or to our library or to certain things. So that's kind of the exclusive access. Or just the fact that families can actually stay on campus for 5 days during the summertime. They can't typically do that. We do have some external camps that come in, like cheerleading camps, but an actual family coming and vacationing on campus isn't something that's been offered in the past.
Right. And really, the location is an awesome resource of yours as well, being in Malibu.
And I think that's one of the reasons why the university decided to go ahead with the program.
Right. Dan, how much family stuff is done at all of the different Frost Valley programs?
So every weekend we have about ranging from 400 to 600 guests up, and it's all group and family programming. So, and then after camp is over, we run a 1 week family camp that's been going since we've had a summer camp. And we run it actually just like camp. And a little bit of the family and conference programming from the weekends during the year, but really run it just like camp with graces and songs and everything in between. So family-wise, it makes up a significant portion. We'd say about 12,000 family groups come during the year, participant-wise. So it ends up being a large amount of our operation, for lack of better words. And we find a lot of families bounce around programs. So, for instance, they'll come on a school trip and during the week, and then they'll come up for a weekend, and then they'll send their kid to summer camp. And so we find a lot of people know us in different ways as well.
Yeah. So when families come on their own on a weekend, not to that 1 week family camp, what sort of programming do you offer them?
Yeah, so it's completely weather dependent for the most part. So, for instance, this weekend is going to be an exception. It's a Women's Wellness Weekend. I'll talk about that in a second. But if it wasn't Women's Wellness Weekend, they would do a lot of hiking. We still have some snow on the ground, so we'd probably teach cross-country skiing a little bit, but not let them take the skis out. It's still cold enough to ice skate, so they could go ice skating at their own accord. We'll do some snowshoeing. And then we have indoor rock climbing wall. We have a lot of arts and crafts activities. We really try to figure out a way for them to learn a skill while they're here. And that's really the biggest challenge, as we were talking about earlier, is that the programming needs to meet everyone's needs. So you need to have stuff that's appropriate for a 4 to 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, and then have something that's appropriate for an adult that just came with a few other adults and wants to learn a higher level skill. So it ends up being a wide variety of programming. We typically offer about 6 programs at a time period, and we'll offer a time period's roughly an hour and a half, and then we'll have 4 time periods during the day, so 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And then after dinner, we'll have an evening program where we'll offer typically 2 indoor and 1 outdoor activity. So, for instance, tubing, and then a bingo night, and a karaoke, or trivia, and a campfire, that sort of thing.
Right. Well, and I want to come back around to your week-long family camp. I think that fits more to what people would imagine as a family camp for a traditional camp. I'm using the word traditional, even though I talked a lot about it when we were at Tri-State last week, that I don't like the word traditional for camp, but I'm working on a different way of wording it. Gab, what's your experience with family camp programming?
Basically, we at Warrow, we did family camp for approximately, it was 4 seasons we did family camp. And we made the shift from family camp to having women's wellness programs, like Dan mentioned. And that's just because it fit a little bit more our philosophy. We're an all-girls summer camp, and it seemed to us that this shift made a lot of sense. But a lot of what we did with the women's weekend was based on our experience with our family camp. So that's what we do now is our women's weekends, which we really, really enjoy, and it adds a very strong value to also having returning clients for not only for women's weekends but for our summer program. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do that, was to build a strong tie with our families, as well as our alumni, and give them a place to come when they're, quote unquote couldn't come back to camp anymore.
Right. And how often do you run women's weekends?
We only have 3 weekends a year. It's mostly in the fall, and our season's fairly short with being able to house people just because of weather. So usually it's during it's in the fall when the leaves are changing, and the program is is designed with the food quality is exceptional. Our summer food is amazing, but the food quality for Women's Weekend is absolutely exceptional, and we have a lot of different professionals on camp. So photographers, and a raw food specialist, and a doctor that does seminars on women's health, and so these people come for free, and they give a 1.5 hour or 2 hour seminar, and so they're part of the community while they're there. So they're eating with everybody and chit-chatting, and it adds a really nice richness, and it also keeps our prices a little bit lower, which is what we try to do. We want everybody to be able to afford to come to the weekend. So we want to give them something that's high quality, and as everybody was saying, program that makes sense for adults as well, that they get something out of it.
Right. I'm just going to touch with each of you sort of what's going on at your camps, and then we'll come back for a bit more depth. So I want to move to Tom and say you have this amazing partnership with the Cousteau family.
Yes, so Jean-Michel Cousteau is our host of family camp. We run camp, but he comes and he brings some of his staff, scientists and divers along with him. And so the program is focused a little bit on kind of his issues and what he's working on promoting, whether he's making films or has environmental issues that he's focused on around the world, almost always related to the ocean
Yeah.
He was the whole Free Willy Keiko thing for a while, so we had a lot of focus on that issue. And if you recall, he was a big part of trying to reintroduce that killer whale into the wild. So that, there's all of that. So he's always doing presentations. Every night after dinner, he'll do a presentation in the dining hall and talk about some of the things that he's going on. He wrote a book about his father for his what would have been his 100th birthday. So different presentations like that. All the films he made, the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, and revisiting the Amazon and that stuff. So that's really very cool. And so he's there with all the people. And so most of the people are coming because he's there. Some people are coming because they enjoy family camp.
Yeah.
We set it up. It's family camp. And so it's set up primarily for families to be together and to do things together. We've had as many as 4 generations come and stay in a cabin together,
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. But we're running camp activities. Jean-Michel doesn't want us to run our BB guns or our power boats for water skiing and such. But other than that, we'll do all of the programs that we run during summer camp. We do it with just our leadership staff. So they stay, and we don't have any, staff staying in cabins with kids or anything like that. So we're running on a skeleton crew, and we don't run all the activities at one time, but that's what we do. A lot of people choose to just sit on the beach. One of the things we do differently, though, is we hire a dive boat,
Right.
and it comes in and takes everybody snorkeling with Jean-Michel. So they'll go around the corner to a iconic Catalina dive spot called Indian Rock, which is a great dive spot, and they'll go snorkeling over there, off the back of the dive boat and do that. And Dick Murphy and Holly Loheis, who both come with Jean-Michel, will go along with them, and we'll send our staff. And it's a neat program. 5 days, 4 nights in August. School schedules are becoming a problem, though. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, where schools are starting earlier and earlier, and it's, we do this at the end of our summer, and
Right.
Definitely schools in Arizona and Nevada have gone back into session, and now in California too, a lot of schools are going back mid-August to get their finals done before Christmas break.
Right.
And so it's become problematic for those dates.
Right. I think one of the things that unites what everybody has said is that, and I want to go back and talk about how we can be flexible with family camp and change it and adapt it, and certainly stuff like school schedules are something we have to be thinking about all the time. But coming back to something that each of you said, I think that each of the camps has offered a unique attraction to parents, and to help them either personal interest stuff or education in some way that they wouldn't get anywhere else. And I want to come back on that to see what are some of the things that you have done that have been very specific to families. And I'm going to let you all think about that, and I'm going to talk about my own experience when we were at Glenmore and at Cairn, and what we did that was specific to the adults. I said to families, but I mean to adults, what the adult programming was like. And so for us, we were the same as Megan. There would be 3 streams of programming: stuff for the kids, paired with stuff for the adults. And the adult programming was always optional. They could come and do zipline, climbing wall, photography classes, knitting, book club, all those kinds of things just for the adults, where we would take the kids and do stuff. There'd be stuff for everybody all together, which was all the normal camp activities as well. And then we did some evening programs. As one specific night was focused on what we called the adult social. And there we were lucky enough to have a few counselors there, or senior staff there, that could take the kids while they went to bed and look after those kids. And then we'd run special programming there. And we did some awesome stuff. It's mostly turned into just a night of sitting in, good food, talking, conversations, and getting to know each other within the family camp community. But we've done some special events there where we've done a starbecue before, where we brought in an astronomer and a couple of giant telescopes and had a big barbecue going on at the same time. And I think that those adults like that break. They loved all the stuff that happened with their kids there. And as we talked about on the previous show, it's a big attractor, good way to get kids to understand camp and get a feel for it and know the community, and adults to sort of try out camp with their kids and see if they would trust us as a camp to look after their kids and get to know us. But I think the special adult programming was one of the big features. We've covered a lot of it, but is there any other ones that stood out for any of you that you think the adults have really loved that have been really special? Go ahead,
Travis, you
Dan.
really reminded me. We had an alumni reunion a few years ago, and we every weekend we have alumni up, but every 5 years we try to have a big reunion. Basically, one of the program we ran was we ran a softball game, and we also had a barbecue at the same time, and what it allowed for every family to be down there to eat, to watch the game going on. For people that wanted to play to be involved, and for people that didn't, they just to hang out and to be part of the group. And I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed with family programming is to encourage, for lack of better words, the meandering, encourage the relaxedness and not running from program to program, but instead really taking that time to bond with their child. I used to run family programming here, and we used to joke that the best invention to affect family programming in the past decade was a DVR. So now people could record the game at home, and they could go home and they could catch it at their convenience,
Right.
instead of Sunday morning having to rush out because the New York Giants are going to play at noon and they had to get home by that certain time. Just getting people to slow down and actually have that face-to-face interaction. That is such a, anytime you can do that with a family, that's what they're truly coming up for, is because they're unplugging, they're at a place where they can park the car and walk around, they don't have to worry about taking out their wallet. It's kind of decompressing the family as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point. And I think that simple things that camps can do to transform their residential camp to something that's perhaps a little bit more family oriented and adult focused is invest in lawn chairs, invest in a lot of seating areas, whereas during the summertime we don't need those as much. They're good to have, they're important to have, but to actually have a lot of those in different areas, by the horseshoe pit, down by the waterfront, by the campfire, in a nice shaded area. If you just sort of set up your camp a little bit more in a lounge-like way, that transforms. It creates a different type of environment that's needed for a family camp. But absolutely, creating space for relaxation is very, very important.
Yeah, we found that to be very true. We buy, and every time we have to replace them, I kind of cringe, but I know how important it is to have all of those beach chairs available. And we would never put them out during summer. Mm-hmm. Kids can sit on the beach, they can sit on the sand, they can sit on the field, wherever, on the fallen log. But adults, they need something a little bit more comfortable. And so we actually take half of our picnic tables out of our dining area, which we eat outside, and we move them in between all of the cabins so that there's a table and a space there. And then we've got about 50 folding, beach chairs as well, some tall, some low. We've got some of those, plastic Adirondack type chairs that you buy at Home Depot that are the Home Depot orange. So we've got those around, and so they're really, really useful items to have for people to just be able to sit, and they'll move them wherever, they'll move them wherever they want to put them. And so it's great, and we encourage that. The other thing that we've done, I think that is, helpful in our setting anyways, is we provide beach towels.
Right.
So we provide towels, and families don't have to bring those with them to camp. We're not driving in our car to camp. So you drive to the boat, and you get on the boat, so you're carrying your luggage a lot. We definitely unload all the luggage for people and deliver it to their cabins off the boat, but they're moving it around, and so not carrying 2 beach towels per person in their family group makes a big difference in the amount of stuff they have to carry. So we've invested in beach towels, and we try to encourage people to use them as much as possible, as long as possible, without needing a wash. But then we've got places for them to return them, and they can get a clean one if they want. So hopefully they'll use them at least a day or two, or longer, so that we're not using that much water on our desert island. But it's been a big difference maker for that.
Yeah, that's so smart, because you definitely, and I know it's part of your island life that you think about it all the time, is getting to and from camp in small packages as possible.
Yeah, like we don't we would never allow kids or anybody to bring solid-sided trunks, which are probably the staple of many people's camps, because they just don't go into the hull of the boat very well.
Right.
And so, if I don't know if you guys have seen Everything Summer Camp, they have those soft-sided trunks.
Yeah.
He built those at my urging, and so yeah, he and I had a long Matt and I had a long discussion about that, and so he built those so that we could sell them. And he's now, we sell, I don't know, I'm sure we sell a lot of them for him every summer.
That's awesome. Right on. Megan, you were going to say something before?
Yeah, I was just going to talk a little bit about the unique adult programming that I've seen before. At my past camp, we did like a newlywed game show for the adults, and I love the structured stuff, but the stuff I've seen worked really well is the stuff where it's semi-structured. We've done like a wine tasting night, but they bring their own bottle of wine and they share it. You put it in a brown paper bag. So I like the semi-structured stuff a little bit better than something like a show. The best adult activity that I've ever seen is like just a mixer where you have them all together chatting. There's food, there's drinks. But I've seen casino nights, all sorts of different kind of adult programming that you can do. That's mostly the nighttime programming, but I just love providing that time for adults to interact with each other and have some type of structure, but not a ton of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any other adult activities or ways? Let me change that. I think we covered that, but Tom's chair thing and towel thing makes a lot of sense. Are there other ways that you've adapted your camp for the family camp time, or created space for the families in specific ways?
I have a few things. One is we work a lot more volunteering projects into family camp. So, for instance, going back to what Tom was talking about with seating, we actually will have people on, if we know if it's alumni heavy, we can build Adirondack chairs that they leave at camp. So all of a sudden it's their family's chair that they built, and then it's there throughout the whole year. So they're looking for it. We tell them where it is. It really kind of becomes part of it. We're very big on takeaways as well too. So making sure that if they go to archery, they're walking away with a paper bullseye of where they shot. And really trying to minimize the extra charges and the signups. I think whenever you have a family at camp, anything you can do to make it as easy as possible for them just to walk into the activity and to jump in the middle of it is key. And if you have signups, or like you had to sign up at breakfast to go zip lining, or if you have extra charges and they didn't bring their wallet, doing everything you can to remove those roadblocks so they don't feel like they're being nickeled and dimed, or they don't feel like they're being held up while they're here, or reminded of the outside pressures of the world. And then the last one was just not assuming that certain ages or demographics are going to go to certain programming. I've watched a number of Boy Scouts go to organic natural facials class. I've watched a number of moms and daughters build rockets together, and to not assume that people stay by their gender norms or stay by their ages, and that when you have a group of teenagers who want to learn how to knit, to embrace them like you embrace anybody, and to really go with it, because it's one of the few times where they can put down their preconceived notions of themselves and just learn something or enjoy something.
And explore.
Hey, Travis, I'd like to add something too.
Yeah,
Those
please.
are great ideas. I just noted down, we do water bottle rockets in our science program, and we've never thought about doing it during family camp. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's one of our family's most popular programming. Every weekend I'm watching like 100 bottle rockets go off.
Yeah.
Not bottle rockets, but 100 rocket kits go off in front of
I bet that's awesome. One of the things we do is
they love it. They absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
We have a cooking club.
Right.
And so a big part of our program is environmental, and we've got a big organic garden and composting program. And so we'll take product from the garden and we'll combine it with product that we buy, and there'll be a group of kids and parents who will prepare appetizers for our afternoon social hour every day. And so they'll be making bruschetta, or they'll be making whatever it is that they're making, and they love it. They'll also make some specialty pizzas when it's pizza night. And get those all ready, and then the kitchen will cook them. So it's a neat program, and there's a handful of kids that'll participate in it, and parents, and it's different than than what the rest of our camp program is, but it works out really well.
Yeah.
It works out really well. It's a neat thing.
Does anybody have challenges or have addressed the challenge of getting adults to relax or put their phones away or make that transition? I think families love the idea of family camp, and sometimes they get there and either they're intimidated by all these other people around them, or it's just sort of a natural built-in retreat to get into your phone. Do you ever address that head on? No?
I think that for us, it's not so much people relaxing, but I think it's socializing with other clients on site. And we do in our staff training I think that's really important when you're doing another program than your summer camp program. You still need to do a staff training to address the special needs of that group. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we talk about is how to help our clients befriend each other, and what ways do you do that, and what ways do you do that that's not condescending, and as well as an 18-year-old, how do you help a 42-year-old connect with another another person, and what does that look like? And I think that's why we have our speakers on camp that do these workshops. They're people that are very excited about what we do, and they really believe in what we do, and we bring them in on what's our mission. So we have those sort of adults that are already there to help socialize, and then we also have our staff. Some of our staffs eat with our clients, and if they see somebody that is sort of sitting by themselves, they invite them to join them at their table. It's just very simple acts, but for the most part, people do want to meet up with other people, or they don't know how to do that, much like summer camp. And you leave, if you leave camp knowing somebody and that you made a connection with them, it was a good experience. And that's what we want for the women that come for women's weekends. And it was the same thing for family camp. We didn't only want that like network of people to just stay together.
Yeah. It's
nice to have family time, but to for people to make friends is sort of a little bit of what camp is about. So we help adults make adult friends, basically.
Right on.
Well, I'd say we do a lot of the same kind of thing. One of the things, and I don't know if you guys all do this as well, is but we assign one of our staff to each family group when they arrive. And so they are their counselor. They're not living with them, but they make sure they have everything they need when they arrive. They eat the first 3 meals with them. They're part of that group for that. And so we ask them, and then they they don't need to do that, and they just check in with them. They're not the kids' babysitters. They're not anything like that. But they're just being that welcoming face and helping out and introducing everybody to everything. And then the kids really do the rest. I mean, the kids are what bring the parents together. Is what I found, is that the kids naturally, oh, you're my friend, and then the parents meet because of that. And so I don't find getting people to interact we don't have cell service at camp either, so there's it's not like people are breaking their phones out. Most people don't want to do it. Some people might want to have a little bit of work to do, and so we'll let them on the office computer for a bit, but I don't know, we don't find that to be an issue.
I think it's really important to do a really good orientation and welcome program, especially for new families that are coming in, and really just showing them right off the bat, this is what we do, this is how it is, we're high energy, we want you to be involved, this is a social atmosphere, and just setting that from the very beginning when they walk in. A lot of times I'll get calls ahead of time, I might go into Pasadena for the day or Santa Monica, and they end up usually staying with us because they don't really understand how great of an experience it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that orientation is incredibly important. And the other thing that is sometimes easier with kids than it is with adults is adjusting to the language of camp. And kids, when they're immersed in it for 24 hours, they've already picked up on all the lingo of camp and certainly the names of buildings and locations, but also the funny ways we talk about things at camp. And sitting that out with parents and saying, there are main central washrooms with showers and all the facilities, but there are also outhouses throughout the throughout the cabin area, and we happen to call them kaibos. It's just an old camp name for things. So if you hear people refer to kaibos, we're actually referring to outhouses, and that's just a bit of introducing them to the language of camp and also the expectations. This is, we want this to be as relaxing as possible for you, but meals happen to be one of the things that just for efficiencies we have to schedule. So, here are our meal times. We encourage you to be there on time and be part of what goes on there, because there's also big theme things that happen, program things that happen during mealtime. So we've done everything we can to introduce them to the idea of in our particular family camp, there's flex time, and then there's the couple of things that have to start on time just because of managing the amount of people. So keep that going. We haven't really talked about children's programming or the mix of programming, and I'd love to do that, but I don't think that we have time because I want to move us on to one other thing. I would encourage you to think about those if you're considering a family camp, because the mix activities are awesome, and to see parents who come to camp, relax with their kids, and end up getting dressed up and going around banging on pots and singing songs with their kids is one of my happy moments that happens at every family camp. And another activity that is a tradition on Sunday night of our 3-day family camp is a talent show. And some families prepare their own skits ahead of time. Those who've been there before often prepare throughout the year for what their family's talent will be. And the counselor's job is to encourage, not to make them do it, but to encourage each family to be a part of that somehow. What do I want to do to wrap us up, because I promised that we would, is to talk about promoting family camp and how you do it, and how you reach to the right kind of families, and or reaching to adults if you're running a women's program. But Megan, you're starting this from scratch. How did you tie or reach out to the right families for you?
Well, I used my network, our alumni network. That's where I started off at, and I just, I keep on sending them messages and different ways, trying to get out to the alumni, whether I'm actually going to the alumni events and introducing myself and telling them about family camp. But I think it's really important, since I'm reaching out to the same network over and over again, and we're slowly going into promoting to just outside world in general. I keep changing how I market the family camp. I have different angles. So, 1 week I'm talking about the activities, the other week I'm talking about quality family time, or I just have different angles I hit each time, trying to get different people involved. I think marketing family camp can be a little bit tricky, because some people, at least on the West Coast, don't understand what the concept of family camp is. They've never heard about it. They immediately think when our name has camp in it, it means it's a kids camp. So a lot of it is educating as well. This is what family camp is. This is a great experience for your family. We think you should try it out. But I've tried different kind of angles, but really I'm working on alumni right now and getting them involved.
Right. So using the network you have and just trying to create some understanding of what the program is they have to offer.
Yep.
Awesome. What do you do at Catalina Island, Tom?
Well, we use a lot of Jean-Michel's network in family camps. So he's got his organization called Ocean Futures Society. And so they have members. That's a free membership in Ocean's Futures, and then you can stay connected to all of their projects. And so they have things on their website about it and such. And I tell you though, it's a challenge to get people to commit to a 5-day, 4-night thing here in California as well, like Megan's talking about. It's we're always trying to put people in, and we hand out a lot of flyers with all of our camp brochures, and people hear about it, and it's word of mouth. It's 5 days, 4 nights, so there's not a big budget for going out and doing fancy stuff. Yeah. But it works out. It seems to work out every year for one reason or another.
Yeah. So you reach out to Jean-Michel's people, but you also reach out to your own families as well.
Yeah. So we do both.
Yeah.
And it's kind of always mentioned in all of our other materials, and so it's kind of always there. Sometimes we get people who come to our outdoor education program, parents who hear about it, and all kinds of different ways. But it's something that I would definitely like to, make easier.
Yeah. Right. And what's it like at Frost Valley, Dan, reaching out to families?
You've probably experienced this, Travis, since you've been here before. We have a newsletter that goes out to every single participant, and it does feature the upcoming events in the weekends. We do find with families that they typically are booking within the same month when they come to camp. For family camp, they do book far in advance because that's a one-time event we do, but a lot of the families that come up will actually just book only a few weeks out. So our newsletter is always promoting a family camp event, our family programming event. We do get some press as well too here and there, with Patch.com or Huffington Post, or we've even been in the Times for our family programming because it's so unique. I think the word camp has a lot of different meanings for people.
Absolutely.
And some are positive, some are negative, some are positive, but they would never go there as an adult. And when they hear that we have a variety of lodging and a variety of accommodations, and that we have linens that you can use when you come up. It's those little things that really do convince people that we are more than just a summer camp. And that's the difficult thing too, in that sense. Promoting our events though, I really find that having themed weekends, and certainly having them open to everybody, but for instance, this Women's Wellness Weekend that's coming up, or a Girl Scout weekend that we actually have 4 Girl Scout weekends during the year. We have a Boy Scout themed weekend. We have adventure guide groups that come up from New Jersey. So having themes to your weekends really does help kind of drive people to come. We don't find it too much of a deterrent for people that don't want to participate in the theme. But the biggest thing is just letting people know that you're more than just a camp, and recognizing that. But I think the big thing is if you get a family to come up, really getting them to understand that they are joining your camp family as well too, and making it feel like it's their home, that they can return year after year, and that you'll be the annual spot for their trip. Well, we see families that for instance take a year or two off. When they leave, they'll go to Disney World, they'll go to vacation various places, but when they come back, they talk about how they didn't have that emotional connection with the place. In the same way they did with the camp, and it's figuring out how to have that emotional connection in a weekend, whether it's connecting with the groups next to them or providing anything they need to kind of let their barriers down, that gets a family coming back year after year. But our family camp, it sells out well in advance. People are booking their reservation the year before when they're at the family camp. So that week-long family camp program we run. Family weekends are much different. They're definitely, as I mentioned, they're booking within a month. But creating that same kind of intense love and / I can't miss out on this that you do for summer camp. It really does work with families. So.
Yeah. Gab, what do you do to bring in the adults for your weekend programming?
We give all of our campers who have been with us for 5 years, once they hit 5 years, we give a free weekend to their moms or somebody of their choosing. So that's been really, really a very important part of sort of breaking down the barriers, as everybody's talking about the idea of what camp is. And what we're really looking at is a retreat where they get to experience something new. And maybe reconnect with somebody that they haven't had time to connect with, and and relax and eat good food. So it's a very simple program, but we do it well, and we want them to be part of it. So this sort of free weekend has really helped people come back year after year, and just give them that introduction. And usually they bring a friend or a sister, so that's very cool. And we also go to do women's shows. There's women's shows, pretty much in every city. There's, and we find that actually there's quite a bit of people that are looking for a different type of adventure and experience. And it's a nice way to see what people are into and how they perceive us. And we take the name camp out of our program. So
right.
That's not included when we're selling this program, just because of some of the stigma that it has, because it seems like it's just focused for children, and we're really trying to show them that it's an outdoor experience with glorious events for adults. So so we take camp out of the actual name.
Yeah, interesting.
Just because it works. That's all. Yeah.
And I think a thing about promoting camp, family camp, or this outdoor experience for adults is to never underestimate the power of what your staff can do to promote it during the time that people are at camp. And we all know that word of mouth is very powerful for summer camps, but to talk to people in the training, the special training that you're giving people to set them up for family camp, to just remind them that their connections with the adults are as important as their connections with the kids, and to do special things for them and make them feel like you would make a cabin full of kids feel, each person special. That is incredibly powerful for our families. We have families who have we have a family that comes back to our family camp that's been there since we were directing, and we go back as a family now. We have a family who still requests the same counselor, but she is now the camp director. So every year she has to say, no, I can't be your counselor this year. I am now the camp director. But it was just such an amazing experience for that family. And it's, of course, done jokingly now because they know Chantel's position. But it's such an amazing impact on that family, the experience that she gave them. It stuck with those kids forever. And it was really magical the way that she interacted with those adults, and they've all become quite good friends because of that, and that was incredibly powerful for the marketing and those families saying, you have to come to family camp. It's been an amazing experience for us as well as our kids. So one quick check-in, is there anybody who has any other things about promoting family camp that we haven't talked about that you think has worked really well, has been sort of a secret special touch for you?
Since word of mouth works so well, we give incentives to our families to help get a new family in, and we'll give an incentive to both the returning family and the new family, just because I think that's really the best way for families to get promoted into coming to family camp. I think word of mouth just works so well.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is creating things that they will want to return to see,
right,
and want to show off to friends as well. So word of mouth by far is our biggest tool for recruiting any of our programming, because they understand the experience more than just an ad. And while the ads are important to jog their memory of we're still being there, I think creating a quality program where people are having these wow moments or having these moments that they wouldn't normally have is your best marketing tool.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you all very much for adding to this conversation about family camp and promotion and programs. For people that have been watching the show, if you have any other questions about this, please get in touch with our co-hosts, or you can email me, travis@camphacker.tv, and be happy to address more on family camp if there are other things you want to talk about or other issues on the show as well. As you know, we take and dive deep into one specific topic every 2 weeks, and that's a part of the format of this particular show. So we always are looking for ideas. But I thank our 4 co-hosts for their important input on this topic. And right now we're going to move on to our tool of the week. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, or maybe second time watching on YouTube or listening to the audio on your phone, our tool of the week is something that a co-host brings to the table that has worked really well at their camp, or is a tool that helps them become a better camp director. And I'm going to start today with Dan. Dan, what are you recommending to people to check out to be a better camp director?
So I have the book Nurture Shock by Poe Bronson and Ashley Merriman. And Poe Bronson was just the keynote for the Tri-State Camp Conference, and it was fantastic. But it's great. It's pretty much chapter by chapter is a new study, but it goes into just different things about youth development and working with kids. And for instance, the one I really enjoyed was talking about teens, how teens really crave uncertainty, and how they really they need something that has a big reward and something that they're not expecting in order for them to really enjoy it. And it's a really unique way to think about when you do camp programming. Are your teens coming back to camp? And if they're not, Is it because the programming seems like it's the same every year, and are you giving them that moment of uncertainty, and working that in? So it was really a great keynote, and it's a great book as well too. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll support that one. I read that book. It was awesome. It's really great. Changed a lot of my thinking. And Megan, how about you? What's your tool this week?
Yeah, so I've been using springpad.com for a while, and it's a great website that helps you organize notes, documents, any kind of links you find on anywhere on the web. So I use it to just categorize things. I have different folders that have to do with different programming, kids programming. So anything when I'm searching the web that I find that I really like, I just put it into one of my folders, and I just log in and have it all there available to me 2 months out when I need to look for kids programming ideas. So I really love this program, and I love it's free, and it's great to just use to categorize, and I like to be really organized, so it helps me.
Fantastic. And it's available on the phone as well, is it not?
I believe so.
I think so too. I've checked it out. It's a really interesting program. Kind of a combination of Pinterest and Evernote.
Yep.
And so it has its own unique niche in that it covers a bit more ground than each one of those separately. So thanks, Megan. That's awesome. SpringPad. And I'll put the link to that in the show notes. Tom, I asked when you were coming on that you would give us a specific tool that's related to your experience of being on the water at Catalina Island, and I'm excited to hear what you're going to talk about today.
Well, we do a lot of snorkeling, as you can imagine. Environmental program and being on the ocean. Catalina Island is one of the best kelp forest snorkeling areas, diving areas in the world, because most of the time it's very cold water in kelp forest, but Catalina kind of is on that borderline, and we still have the good kelp growth and the marine life that's there with it, but without the really frigid temperatures. And so we do a lot of snorkeling, and it's taken us a long time to find the equipment that we like, that's durable, that you can maintain without having to replace on a regular basis. And so we've been using an organization, if you should need masks, fins, snorkels, or other dive gear, istsports.com. istsports.com, and they have worked with us. It's almost a wholesale kind of operation that you can set up, and they have replacement parts, especially on the snorkels and masks, where you'll have parts that will break on those. The snorkels, you've got the mouthpiece, you've also got the purge valve. Both of those are replaceable for us, and so we can buy those replacement parts in quantity and be able to maintain it without throwing away all this plastic, which is really important to us.
Yeah.
Being on an island, trash has to get shipped off the island, and so there's all of that that goes into it. We've been using the step-in fins that they have, probably the cheapest, most economical fins that they have, because any of the stuff with straps, it's just the fitting is harder and all of that. So when you're putting lots of kids into fins, it's nice to be able to, here's your shoe size, put it on. So those kinds of things work really well for us. And their masks, they've got a lot of different styles. They also have ones that have built-in magnifiers or prescriptions that you can get for kids that have, so their eyeglass issues, so they can see underwater. So that's a resource that we use. Travis and I talked about it. It'd be worth sharing today.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a great idea. And I know that there are a number of camps that do snorkeling programs or are interested in snorkeling programs. And so thank you very much for sharing that, Tom. That's awesome. Gab sends her regrets she had to leave early, so she didn't get to share her tool of the week. And so I'm going to share mine, and then we'll wrap things up here. I had a little debate with myself. I have one that I've been saving, which is will set the CampHacker record for the most expensive tool of the week. But I'm going to save it. We'll come back to it again. Just because I just this morning finished a book that was so incredibly inspiring and fit into the mission of summer camp. And it really appealed to me as a director of a camp in inspiring action in people. And it's called The Promise of a Pencil, and Adam Bauer is the author's name, and you probably have heard of Pencils of Promise, an organization that builds schools and staffs the schools and gives the kids uniforms and all their equipment. And they're an awesome charity that does really neat work around the world. And this is the story of how it got started by Adam and his story. And as many of you longtime listeners or watchers know, I consume a lot of my books by audio, and it was a great audiobook. I really enjoyed it. So I hope that you'll check that out. I will put the link to the audio and the paper or Kindle version of it in the show notes. And I hope that you'll check it out because it really was really inspiring. And one of those good books for this time of the year where it's getting stressful, time is really tight, trying to fit everything in. And it was one of those great inspiring books of like, yes, I can dig a little deeper. I can do this. And worth reading or sharing with your staff as well. So thank you very much for sharing your tools. Again, check out the show notes at camphacker.tv/podcast. What I want to do is just take a moment and thank our guests and give them a chance to share a way that you can get in touch with them. So Tom, I really appreciate you being on for the first time, and you had some awesome insight into family camp. Thank you.
Thanks, Travis. If anybody would like to reach me, catch me on Twitter. We are at Cat Island Camps, or me personally is at Horner Tom. You can find us on the web and at Facebook, Catalina Island Camps, and my email is tom@catalinaislandcamps.com.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're here, Tom. People listening, I'd encourage you to follow Tom on Twitter. He does a ton of stuff, and also co-hosts a nighttime camp chat on Twitter for where parents can ask questions of camp people and share on a particular topic on a camp chat. And that is generally Wednesday or Thursday nights, Tom.
Yeah, tonight is the last one in the 6-week series for this year, Travis. So 7 p.m. Pacific time, hashtag camp chat.
Right.
So we'll have a lot of mom bloggers, parents, camps on, and tonight's topic is packing for camp.
Right on. So chances of me being able to edit this show and get it out in time to help promote this are slim. But what I want you to do is follow Tom's Twitter because you will see the promotions coming out, and I've been thrilled to be a part of some of the camp chats, and we'll try to check it out again tonight.
You can always search the hashtag and go back and review the content of the chat as well.
Yeah, it's been really great. So thanks for being on, Tom.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. Megan, how can people reach you?
Yeah, so we are on Facebook, just Pepperdine Family Camp. Or you can reach me at familycamp@pepperdine.edu. I'm a one-person show, so I'm the one you'd reach.
Right on. Thanks, Megan, again for suggesting this topic and for your awesome input.
Thank you, Travis.
It's great to have you. Dan, how about you?
You can find me at danlovescamp.com and Twitter at danlovescamp as well. And then I work at Frost Valley YMCA, so if you need to get a hold of me, the phone number's on that website. But yeah, other than that.
Thanks, Dan. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Great to see you last week.
Yeah, it's great seeing you too.
In person. So again, if you want the information that we've talked about, links to everybody's show notes and contacts, go to camphacker.tv/podcast. If you enjoyed our show and want to help spread the word of the CampHacker podcast or any of our shows, go to camphacker.tv/love, and that'll send out a tweet on your behalf. You can adapt it however you like, but we always appreciate when people share our shows. So it's helpful for us to get out to the wider Camp Pros audience. We really appreciate that. My name is Travis Allison. I really appreciate you watching. It's been a great show. And thanks for the evening, friends.